Hi friends, this is Sarah from Crafting and Relaxing. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the Bringing Back Basic Gray collaboration. Bourbon Creek Crafts, who is Beth, came up with this idea, and Stampin' Cat on Instagram and I have joined up, so it's the three of us. We're digging through our stash to use basic gray paper. Stampin' Cat, Kathy, sent me this 6x6 and some 12x12 sheets. This was one of my absolute favorite collections of basic gray, and it's called Sugar Rush, and it had tons of periwinkle in it and polka dots and just great colors. Because she sent me 12x12 and 6x6, it opened up more doors for me because I could make journal pages and then use the 6x6. I was going to make a process video to share this with you so you could see how many sheets of 12x12 I had and what I worked with. I don't know if I have a video, probably not. You know, I get sidetracked. But the idea is the same, whether you can see it or not. What I did was I took those pieces of 12x12. I glued two of them back to back so they were super thick, folded up the bottom to make this pocket and cover, and it cracked a little. I was aggressive with that. I don't think that was a basic gray problem. I think that was a Sarah problem. I glued the two together, then I scored it on both sides. I think I just got too hard on it. So that's kind of a bummer. The bottom's cracked. But when I hold the journal in my hand, it's not the only thing I notice. I just love this paper, and I love all the periwinkle. First, we'll talk about building the journal, then we'll talk about embellishing it. I put some 6x6 pieces of paper in it. This is, I went through the pad and I picked out my favorites. Here's another one. So it's a 6x6 piece of paper. And what I did was I didn't fold them in the middle. I folded them sometimes at the halfway. This was a scrap. I had a few scraps of 12x12 in my stash too. I'm trying to find the other half of that to show you. Here it is. So I didn't fold it in the middle. What that allows me to do is either leave this really cute the way it is or use it as a tab to connect something. I'll show you one where I did that. Here, this was the polka dot paper. So there's going to be a polka dot page back here. And then here I just had this little tab coming through, and I connected a 6x6 piece, trimmed it a little narrower like a page, and made my page here. So I was able to sew in some of those 6x6 papers just like you would smaller scraps anyway. There's no rule that says your page has to be the full height. So you can use these 6x6 papers. Because she sent me the whole pad, that allowed me to go through and bring in some of my absolute favorite papers, which I really didn't have much of in my stash. This center pocket, this piece was in my stash from years ago. So I made that, and it's fun because the 12x12 has bigger prints on it. So you can see tiny polka dots in this book that were on the, here you go, tiny polka dots that were on the 6x6 and then larger. So if you have a couple pieces of 12x12, then you can get creative. So let me show you how I came up with the rest of the pages. What I did was I took one of these multicolored pieces of paper, a couple of them, this pad, and I sat down with my piles and baskets of junk journaling stuff and looked around. So in my stash, I found this luscious, which orange, you know, that's kind of borderline for me, textured paper. It's orange, dark orange on one side and a lighter on another. So I pulled that from my stash. This ledger paper with kind of an orangish and touch of greens. Then these were in my stash, some periwinkles. This was an actual piece of 12x12 that Kathy sent me. And see how I pulled those colors? So I'm just sitting around and saying, okay, what goes from my stash? I used some sheet music because that's fun. This periwinkle paper was these card making kits, so card bases and envelopes. So I used one of those and just trimmed it down a little. I might round the corners because this had rounded corners. This was a periwinkle piece of polka dot paper, and Kathy Stampin' Cat might have sent that to me before. This was an old sheet of vellum that had some polka dots and confetti, and it was in the pile, so I used it. This was a great big giant green envelope, but look at how that green goes with those dots. So I was just looking for things in that color palette. Periwinkle paper out of my stash. And these are stash items right here. And this is another piece of paper from the collection. And this is the extra piece from it, where I made a pocket on this page. This was a gel print in my stash. It's pretty close. I don't know. So I just went through and rounded up enough stuff out of my stash to make a journal, to have enough pages. And I think Kathy sent me, how many pieces of 12 by 12 did I use? 2 on the cover, which I could have gotten away with 1. So 2, 3, 4, and then we're to the center. And this was from my stash. If I didn't have this big centerpiece, I could have used a 6 by 6 here to make a smaller center pocket, and that would have worked fine. So just looking at your supplies and getting super creative. Then the next thing I did is I went through my stash and I tried to figure out how to maximize this 6 by 6 paper and mix things up. For example, this is a big tag that was in my stash. I haven't punched the hole in it. Maybe I made it. I don't know, but I haven't put the hole in it yet. And if you look carefully, I used 6 by 6 paper up here, and then I patched it down here. And the polka dots are a little bit directional. You can see they were in rows. That's fine. There's a seam. I could put washi tape across it. I could decorate it. I just haven't decided, but I love the color that it gives here. I have so much blue and periwinkle in my stash that I had to go to the 6 by 6 pad to find stuff that wasn't periwinkle in these colors. In some cases here, I started looking around and I had this pack of K & Company tags, and I loved this with the color palette. This was out of my stash. I don't know if it works there, but I'm putting it there for now, partly because that was drying and I didn't want it to glue down too tight. Then this was a piece of 6 by 6 from the pad. See, I can make pockets that are 6 inches high, and I just trim them down a little bit. This was from my stash also. It was like Bow Bunny or somebody, and it just kind of worked. The back of that was super cute. I almost didn't want to glue it down. This was in my stash. I don't know. I just stuck it there. I liked it. The orange and pink together is fun. I had something here, but I kept moving things around. And see, I have that pattern on the back. I can leave that plain or stamp on it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this journal. I might do it as one of my kits where I sell it with all the stuff together. But, you know, if a cracked cover upsets you, this one's not for you. I also tried something new on the binding. This is the first one where I used my waxed linen thread. And I used a really big needle, which I don't know if I love. I feel like it left kind of big holes, but I'm experimenting. So if you're interested in this journal, be sure and speak up. I think it's a cutie, and I'm still gathering good stuff. I had to film. I had to stop and film. Let's see, going through there. So what I did was I took out my book. I guess book isn't the right word. CD holder. Remember how I bought this? I don't know if you guys have seen it full. So I just opened it up. I had my little pad laying right here, and I flipped through and I went, now you're not going to see very much stuff. It's not going to work because I already pulled them out and threw them all on the counter. But for example, I had pulled this out because I thought, I think I can see that, but there is no royal blue in this. So I really, really tried to pull back on that because you know I love that. And I just flipped through, and if something went with that or I thought it might go, I threw it out. And I tried to not bring out the pink in this collection, but I just tossed out anything that was the crazy green, the oranges, all of that kind of stuff. That's where it all came from. I just picked through here. I didn't love the color of this yellow, so I left that in here. I pulled one of these out, and I just flipped through. And I found more stuff in my stash to sort into there. So that's where all these cute little guys came from. And then this one, I took out the card it came with and used a scrap from the 6 by 6 to tie it in better and stay true to the colors. This one you saw, I had a bunch of these green ones in my stash. The other thing I could do is I could take scraps of the paper or from the 6x6, and I could cover one side of them and customize them a bit more to this collection, but I wanted to wait and be sure that I put all my pockets and tuck strips first so that I didn't use a piece of paper that would be more crucial for the journal elsewhere. Pocket. This was an envelope that was in my stash, and I kept going back and forth on using it, and finally I said, yep, I'm going to use it because it had the orange and the yellow, and I think it's fun to have that to flip out for a pocket. This was obviously an envelope that one of you sent me something in, and I used it. This is awesome. I thought the color palette was great for that one too. And again, all of these could be, it could be something where you attach, imagine this in better colors, you attach something here and it sticks out across the page, or you can take a piece like this, trim it down, have something up here. You can use them as a starting point for all sorts of things. These were papers from my stash that were pretty close on color, but I didn't want too many hearts in there. So there's a lot of things you can do and add. This one, I have tags in here. I don't know that I love that. I think the wobbliness of the tags might bother me, but I just put them there for now. And again, I was thinking I could customize these with scraps from this. I haven't put any strings or anything yet, but you know, I will, or I'll at least pull them out and put them into a kit for it. I just thought it was so fun. This one just makes me happy. Okay, I couldn't resist. I had to put a little bit of blue in here. I was just blabbing away filming and it wasn't filming anymore. So I think when I went to zoom in to see this, I lost you. This says, trust the timing of your life. And I just loved it. And I tried to, when I added little pockets, leave a side or an extra layer that you might not expect. And these were the green tags that were just in my stash. So I added that. This one is another one of those little yellow things that was up front in the K & Company package. So if I repeat myself, forgive me because I don't know what I lost. The gel print with a bit of glitter, just a nice tuck spot. This was a green tag that was in my stash, but I didn't love the style of it. It had another whoopty on the top of it. I just cut that sucker off. I don't think it'll matter. The color I liked, but you know, sometimes you want the same style. This is a fairly square journal, not a lot of it rounded in it. This one is the other side of the envelope, and it was a self-adhesive envelope, so that one's not a pocket, even though I feel like it speaks to me that it should be. Maybe it needs an actual pocket. I don't know. Then the vellum, the polka dots, sheet music. We're going down the other side. This one was just a tiny little orange scrap that I added because I want the emphasis. And then some fun little things out of my stash. And again, I might add some scraps to them. And a tuck spot, fun little things that haven't decided what they're going to be yet. A piece of paper like this makes a really nice pocket. You glue here, and then it's a pocket. This one's a cute little tuck spot. I found this envelope after I had sewed the book together, and it is the perfect orange. It wasn't sorted properly, so I need to go through and tidy up some more things by color. This was from a porch drop gift that was bestowed upon me, and I just haven't sorted it in. I had it grouped on the counter still. So it doesn't quite fit in that tuck spot because it's so wide, but I think it would be precious right here. Right? So I think that would be a really, really fun way to do it. And I could glue it onto that flap. And again, that's another thing that you can do with those flaps. And then you'd have that pocket in the journal. And here's some yellow and green items. And I think these yellow tags were from Mary. Fun stuff. And I think it's fun to decorate the pockets too. I haven't done that. There's a lot of different ways to do that. If you don't have matchy-matchy stuff, that's what I call it, you could go into your stash and use a sentiment die in a white or a neutral. You can just dig around in all your die cuts like I do. I'll take my little book like this and I'll flip through and say, oh, what would work? Ooh, well, I have Believe in this weird orange color that clearly was a scrap. That would be wonderful in this journal somewhere. So let's set that aside. And this is how I do it. I just go, oh, how about hope in the same weird orangey color? You know, you die cut out of your scraps and you think, what would I ever use that with? And then this one is kind of periwinkle, so I'm going to pull that one out. This is exactly how I do it with my tags and all that. I don't love that color with it, so pass. And that's what I do. And then I imagine the fairies will come and put all the stuff away for me that I pull out because I pull out too much. Sending you hugs isn't a sentiment that I would put in a journal, but I would consider this because of the color. Smiles. Thinking of you. Again, the color's right, but not the sentiment. My book's a little light. I need to get die cutting. Need to watch some movies and die cut. That is my journal using Sugar Rush. Be sure to watch Bourbon Creek Crafts video and check out Stampin' Cat on Instagram. And thank you so much, Kathy, for this paper. I was just so excited, and it was funny because Kathy and I were messaging and she hadn't chosen her paper yet, and I was laughing because I didn't tell her, but I knew what my paper was going to be. I knew the minute she sent it to me, and it dawned on me that I could make a journal with it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you're taking time for crafting and relaxing. I have more videos on the way, but I've just been busy, so they're coming. Bye-bye.